report was finalized at 9/12. It had been reviewed, approved, and digitally archived. The document summarized weeks of analysis, included supporting data, and concluded that the incident had been handled correctly. Recommendations were listed. Findings were categorized. Responsibility was assigned. The case was closed. Once archived, the report entered a secure database where official records are stored permanently. Every version is time-stamped. Every access is logged. The system is designed to prevent unauthorized modification. At least, that is how it is supposed to work. For several weeks, nothing about the report drew attention. It existed as one file among thousands, another completed case in an administrative system built for efficiency and record-keeping. Then someone reopened it. The access was routine. A separate department needed to reference the findings for an unrelated review. The file was located, downloaded, and opened without incident, but something fell off. The summary section did not match what the reviewer remembered reading previously. A paragraph describing a critical delay was missing. The tone of the conclusion seemed softer, less definitive. Certain phrases had been reworded. At first, this was dismissed as faulty memory. Large reports often blur together over time. Language can be interpreted differently on second reading. The reviewer assumed nothing had changed until they checked the timestamp. The archive showed only one finalized version. No revisions, no updates, no recorded edits. And yet, the wording was different. The reviewer requested an earlier copy from personal records. Many departments keep unofficial working drafts for reference. When the two documents were compared side by side, the discrepancy was undeniable. Sections had been altered. The structure was the same. The formatting identical. But specific findings had been modified. Language that previously indicated procedural failure had been reframed as operational complexity. References to missed signals had been softened to inconclusive indicators. The most significant change was subtle. In the original draft, one sentence stated that a decision directly contributed to escalation. In the archive version, it read that the decision occurred prior to escalation. The meaning was not the same. The question was simple. How had this happened? The system logs were reviewed. Access history showed the file being opened several times, but no recorded edits. The digital signature at the bottom of the document remained intact. The verification hash matched the stored record. According to the system, the file had not been modified, and yet it clearly had. The investigation that followed did not begin with accusations. It began with assumptions about technical error. Perhaps the reviewer had accessed a mirror database. Perhaps an outdated draft had been stored elsewhere and mislabeled. But as more copies surfaced, the pattern became clear. Multiple departments possessed printed versions that matched the original wording. Only the centralized archive reflected the revised language. The alteration was not random. It targeted specific sections, those that describe responsibility, oversight gaps, and delayed response times. Nothing was removed entirely. No conclusions were reversed. Instead, clarity was reduced. Causation was blurred. Accountability was diluted. The report still acknowledged the incident. It simply described it differently. The most unsettling part was not the change itself, but the absence of trace. Modern document management systems are designed with audit trails. Edits are logged. Versions are preserved. Changes are visible. The lack of any recorded revision meant one of two things. Either the system had malfunctioned in a highly specific way, or the alteration had occurred before final archival, but after distributed drafts. Neither explanation was comforting. Internal interviews revealed that, in the hours before the report was finalized, there had been discussions about phrasing. Legal advisors had reviewed sections. Certain terms were considered too direct. Concerns were raised about liability exposure. Rewording had been suggested. The official version, however, was believed to reflect the final agreed text. Somewhere between agreement and archival, something shifted. Whether it was a last-minute edit, an overwritten file, or a procedural loophole, the result was the same. The archive document no longer fully reflected the findings originally documented. And once archived, it became the authoritative version. Future references would cite it. External summaries would rely on it. Training materials would quote it. The softened language would become history. When confronted with a discrepancy, officials did not deny that differences existed. Instead, they framed the issue as editorial refinement. The substance, they argued, remained unchanged. But substance is often defined by wording. The difference between directly contributed and occurred prior to is not semantic. It changes interpretation. It changes perception. It changes accountability. In the months that followed, procedures were tightened. Draft preservation rules were clarified. Multiple version backups were mandated. Legal review checkpoints were documented more transparently. The system adapted, but the archive report remained as it was. To this day, the official record contains a revised language. The earlier draft survives only in scattered copies, printouts, email attachments, personal archives. The incident itself did not change. The description of it did. And in bureaucratic systems, description shapes memory. Memory shapes responsibility. And responsibility determines whether lessons are truly learned.